Hey everyone, I'm not sure how many of these cooking videos I'm going to do since I think you all have a good sense of how I'm cooking on board and what I'm cooking on board. But I'll do at least one more. I'm going to do fancy ramen. This is Costco ramen broth. I'm going to use this little can of deviled ham as the meat, and I'm going to use these noodles from this chili crisp noodle. Squiggly noodles. The sauce packets for this is not great, but the noodles are good. So I'm just going to use the noodles. I'm going to use that ramen. I'm going to use that. I'm going to add some spices, and I'll show you how I'm going to cook it. All right, so again, using my bowl as my measuring cup, just how much water do I want in the bowl ultimately. I'm going to put that in the boiler, spill a little bit of it, and get that cooking. What I'm going to do is just blanch the noodles in boiling water before I add them to the ultimate ramen broth, which I'm going to cook in the Instant Pot on saute. So the noodles will get parboiled, kind of that consistency that you would do for aglio e olio, where you kind of half cook the noodle in water to get the starch out and you get the noodle opened up, and then you put it in the broth where it's really going to absorb it. And that's the way I'm going to do this. And that'll let me, sear the deviled ham, add the broth, get that all up to temperature, and then we'll put the noodles in last. All right, we're going to do a touch of olive oil in the Instant Pot. Now, this is a giant bottle of olive oil. It's like 30,000 calories. When I'm provisioning for the boat, what I'm really doing is a calorie budget, right? I know I need something along the lines of 2,000 calories a day, a little less because it's not hard work. And what I do is provision twice that number of calories for the period of days that I want to go, and I can just do that math quickly. I've got this bottle, I've got beans, I've got rice, I've got I just add up all the calories that are on the things I'm buying until I've got to 4,000 calories a day, and then I've got an over budget if I wind up being out longer than I thought I was going to be out. But I'm not carrying way beyond. So that's just how I do the math. So I happen to know there's 30,000 calories in this bottle of olive oil. I don't have butter or dairy products on board because they're hard to store. And I use the olive oil as butter. Like in my oatmeal in the morning, I do a savory oatmeal, salt, pepper, and olive oil. And it tastes a bit like the bread that you dip in the olive oil and vinegar at a fancy Italian restaurant. I really like it. It's not bad, and it's super, super simple. All right, got the deviled ham in there. It's basically ground pork, and ground pork is actually a common ingredient in even fancy ramen in restaurants. So one thing to know about boats is I cannot run two heat sources at the same time off the inverter. The generator I can, but the inverter will reset if I run both the boiler and the Instant Pot at the same time. So I complete the boil first, put that on the noodles. There you go. They're going to parboil there in this melanin bowl. And now I can start the Instant Pot. If I didn't do this in order, if I start them both at the same time, it's going to be trouble. So I will chop that up and get to sauteing it. I'm going to add the spice packet from the noodles. This is just spicy oil, and that's going to be fantastic in the ramen. All right, just sauteing it. I'm going to fry it up pretty good. I want it to get a little darker. And I don't want it to taste, like bologna or something like that. So I'm going to cook it pretty well. I might have a little bit too much olive oil, but that's not a big deal. My good friend, some garlic powder. Garlic is fantastic in ramen. Add in there. There we go. That's looking like it's doing what I want it to do. All right, there's a lot less steam coming off of it, which means that we've cooked out most of the water, which is the state I want to get to. I can see that the ham is starting to brown a bit, and that means it's time to add the ramen broth. gonna add the whole thing. Might be more than I'm gonna eat in one sitting, but can't keep it anyway. All right, and now we're just gonna bring this to a boil. And once it's boiling, we will put the noodles in and finish their cook. You can see here that the noodles have softened up. They are probably al dente, but let me give it a try. Yeah, perfect. So what we're looking for with these noodles is the point at which they've released their starch. And you can see by the cloudy water that has happened. So these are at that early al dente phase, which is just perfect. The noodles have opened up, they're not done cooking, they've released their starch. It's time to drain them, set them aside, and wait for the ramen soup to boil. All right, we got a good boil going. So I'm gonna add the noodles. We're gonna give that 5 minutes to cook. Maybe three. All right, I'm just gonna check the noodles. Get one of them. One more minute. I'm gonna add a little more red pepper. Right before the end of the cook, and let that get heated up and release the oils. And it just looks wonderful. I think it is ready, certainly ready to turn the heat off. And I'm just going to use this noodle bowl as my eating bowl as well. All right, and there we have fancy ramen. I'll sit down and give it a taste in a minute. Because first I gotta deal with the dishes. Let's get some salt in here. Salt water. Keep things from sticking. All right, I got my videographer Cup here working for me. He doesn't know how to do great angles, but you know, he works for scale. Let's see, let's give this a taste. Perfect. They've absorbed the tonkatsu ramen just as predicted, just like an aglio olio does. The little bit of ground pork is perfect. Garlic is perfect. Spice level is good. Could be more. Definitely a restaurant quality ramen, minus, you know, some of the fresh vegetables and other stuff that I don't have on board. But I was able to take those noodles that are supposed to be served dry that I didn't really like. I ate one of them and I was like, oh, this is garbage. But reuse those noodles with my ramen broth that I had originally just bought spaghetti for, and it is phenomenal.